Hello and welcome to next session on SAP RAP Unmanaged Scenario series. So in today's session, we will be looking into how we can create the or add the draft functionality for our unmanaged scenario. Uh, Now, since we already know that the draft functionality that we already have in general with our managed scenario, everything is been taken care by the system, right? And generally we will not be implementing any of the functionalities, but with unmanaged scenario everything we have to code, right? And that is the reason we need to understand how that works and how it will be having the implication on whatever we have coded so far. Okay, now again, why we are going for the draft functionality is that draft functionality uh, will actually allow us to have a version 4 that actually supports many other functionalities such as large objects. You can have multiple actions applied at the same time on multiple instances of the uh, BO entity. All those good stuffs comes with version 4, and with version 4 draft capability is very very important, because without draft functionality version 4 is as good as read only application that we know already. So what we are going to do is we will continue with adding our draft functionality to our application, understand the draft table concept and the implications of having a draft functionality, especially in case of unmanaged. Finally, we will implement, or I'll walk you through the code, how and what we should do in order to have an unmanaged draft functionality. And during this process, we will also check what are the challenges that we might face during the implementation of draft functionality, and accordingly we will have to keep on adjusting. So about draft functionality first, as you have already, if you have not gone through my earlier video, I would recommend that you just go and visit my earlier video on adding draft capability in managed scenario, where actually I have explained most of this concept in detail there, what and how RAP works and stuff like that, right? But just to have a recap here, the draft functionality will allow us to build an application with a stateless functionality. That means that enables the application independently of time or device. That means you can actually uh, start creating a record and then uh, okay, just move out of it, and you are doing it on your desktop. The same application, then while going home you can actually open it in your in your mobile phone and continue working. So those kind of good stuff comes with RAP, right? Using the draft concept means that persisting the data in the transactional buffer first on a database table. Okay, it doesn't directly uh, push the data to database. Rather, we, as we have seen, that we just actually move the data to the transactional buffer. It prevents any data loss, because every time uh, by default the draft functionality, it is again a framework, right? So this keeps on actually calling the and updating the draft tables in a timely manner, right? So the data is never lost. Okay, now remember one thing, that the developer does not have to handle the draft processing. Okay, we just go and implement whatever is needed for our persistent data that we have to actually go and do for. No draft functionality is needed to be coded, even in unmanaged as well, right? Unmanaged also, the framework will actually handle all the draft related processing that should happen. Now, once we implement the draft functionality, the first thing that will be changed is now with the draft functionality, the application will allow to create both the parent as well as the associated entity at the same time. Okay, that means previously in version 2 you have seen that, okay, we when we click on create button, it will allow us to just go and create the contact first. As soon as the contact is created, we say save, then it will actually give you the table for addresses. That is what is happening in version 2. But with version 4, it will allow us to create contact detail as well as the address detail. Now we have to be very, very careful in coding this kind of thing, because previously with version 2 we already have the contact ID that we can actually pass to address ID and then create. But this time neither the contact will have a contact ID nor the address will have a contact ID. So our adjust numbering should be adjusted in such a way that it should cater to this scenario, right? Those kind of challenges will come. Similarly, when you are changing or editing anything, right? One more thing is that uh, if edit is not allowed, right, then uh, address should not be also allowed to create. So the create functionality also depends on this thing. Those kind of challenges will come. Okay, so we will now deep dive into our uh, clips, right? Our coding, and actually go and see uh, what changes we have to do. But before that, I would actually go and show you the application, how it works now. So let me now go to our uh, application, okay, and show you how the application works. So I am in this application, say go, that will actually fetch me all the data back. Now I can create. Now during the create, right, now this time it is now giving me both address as well as contact detail. Let me just create some contact as well as address. I will say m- multi multi घाटे female, right, and date of birth say January 21, 1997, telephone 011 98201 20101. Email is mghte at mycompany.com. It is active. And then at the same time, guys, I am also going and creating the address. Now this time it is allowing me to give the address as well. Malti House, road number 2, Willington Road, or I'll say Carter Road, Mumbai, Maharashtra, and say 40006 400, maximum of 6 digit 018, and I will say apply. Once I say apply, right, at the same time what will happen, it will actually go and allow me to actually go and create now. Where as soon as I create, okay, what it does is internally it will save the contact as well as it will generate the contact ID and pass it on to the address as well, and the serial number will be updated. Okay. Similarly, when we go and try to edit now this time, okay, so edit, you come here, and now with that edit, you see it is giving something else. Okay, probably something wrong is happening here. I'll have to check that. Okay, I can go and delete this. I can, oh no, this is correct only. Discard. Let me discard this. We have not created Manisha, but we had created Malti. Malti Ghate has got one. I am trying to edit now, guys. And this time I can actually change this address by either going here, okay, Malti house, uh, say it is now 16, apply. At the same time, I can, during the edit also, I can go and create one more. Second house, Malati Nivas, Mumbai, Maharashtra, okay, and I will say 400018, apply. So now this time also it has now created second, and you see the serial number is not yet generated. Okay, I am also changing it here 20202. Okay, and trying to save. Now this time what will happen is it will create the second house as serial number 2. It will also go and change my telephone number, whatever changes I have done. Okay, so if I come back to again with Malati, now this time it is showing me two records. Similarly, if you want to delete something, right, you can delete from here, okay, or you can go and delete from here. Okay, now you see whatever whatever values we have, right, you can actually delete, or if you click here, this delete will be disabled because of the feature control that we have already seen, and the delete is disabled. For some reason, for the no, right, edit should also be disabled, right, but it is actually uh, showing that maybe something from the SAP side, but when you actually go and say edit, nothing is actually uh, editable. Okay, so that is what they should actually allow to disable that, right? So this I am now going and deleting. Okay, and it will ask me to delete, and everything in that particular thing is gone. Okay, that is how it works in case of uh, the uh, total process. Now let us go and understand what are the changes that we have to do. So for that, let me go to my Eclipse first, and show you what are the changes that we have to go and do. Now there won't be any changes in our data definitions, guys. Everything is pretty much same. uh, no code changes there. But now, since we have to implement the draft capability, we will have to just change our behavior definition. So now our behavior definition, we will have to do the changes to implement the draft functionality, guys. So first thing that we have to do is we have to add with draft. As soon as you give this with draft here, the draft functionality will be enabled. As soon as the draft functionality is enabled, we will have to give a draft table to each and every entity of the complete BO. Okay. Draft functionality is like a autosave mechanism that comes with RAP, handled completely by RAP framework. We don't need to do any coding as such. Timely manner, it keeps on updating the draft tables. And for that, we will have to give the draft table for each and every entity of the BO, whether it is parent or child entity, everything. You cannot just say, like in Word document, you cannot say that, okay, out of four uh, uh, pages, just only save page number 2, right? It auto save will save the whole file. Similarly, here also we will have to go and define the draft table for each and every entity. As soon as we define the draft table here, lock master will now come with a totally tag, which is just a timestamp field that we have already added. Similarly, all the associations should be marked with draft now. Okay, marked with draft. Feature instance, why I have actually added, I will show you in a bit. Okay, for the create also, so far we have not added any feature instance for association with create, but this time we are going for it. I will show you why. Now, second thing is, uh, as soon as you add the draft, these 5 actions needs to be defined in our behavior definition. No need of any coding, guys. Everything is taken care by the framework. And as the name suggests, right, when you discard, the changes will be discarded. The draft table will be entries will be deleted and stuff like that. All these things are taken care by the framework. We don't need to worry on the draft capability functionality in SAP RAP. Everything is managed by the framework. Similarly, once that is done, all the mapping is done. Similarly, we have to go and actually add a draft table to our child entities as well. And association should also be marked with draft. That's it. Okay. So these changes you will have to do in your interface behavior definition. Okay. Once that is done, now since you have implemented the draft, you will have to use it in your projection behavior definition. Same thing, use a draft and use e-tags, because we have also used the e-tag functionality uh, in our uh, interface, right? Similarly, use all those 5 actions. Okay, use all those 5 actions. Uh, if you don't use this functionality is not going to work out, because if you the SAP framework has given you those actions already created by them. So you have defined it in your interface, but you are not actually projecting it out. So draft functionality will not work properly. So you have to, you must actually use those 5 actions as well, and mark all the associations with draft now. Okay, with draft. In both the associations, I'm marking it with draft. That's it that we have to do from the behavior pool related thing. Okay. Finally, we now go and create a service binding with OData v4 UI. Okay. The protocol should be OData v4 UI, because draft comes with version 4, and uh, without version 4, it is not going to work out, right? So version 4 now this time we are going to create, and this version 4 service or data service we should actually hand over to our Fiori guys if they want to use it. Okay, now once this is done, then you can actually go and then use your preview button to go and preview the application. Okay, now these are the changes that we have done for our um, behavior. Now what are the changes that is going to happen in our coding that we are going to see now? So let me first go and actually show you the local handler class for our contact. Okay. Now in our contact, what we are going to do is, first of all, if you want to also control the feature for your associated entity, that you should mark that also as a feature instance. That is why I have in my address, I am for the create also, I am actually marking it as feature instance. Okay. Now what it will do, it will actually give me, apart from the feature, it will also give me a percentage association that we can actually use to control the association create. right? The creation of our address in this case. I am saying, okay, enable. If it is above true, then only you enable, otherwise you don't enable. Okay. Now, once this is done, the second thing that we are going to see is now create is fine. Our auxiliary class create method will be called, everything will be put in there. No worries here. But in our update, now you don't need to pass the unmanaged contact, guys, okay? Because this will give a dump. Uh, Maybe there is something which we will need to understand how it can actually be. Didn't have that much of time to actually see why it is actually dumping, but this is actually not mandatory now. Okay, delete is pretty much the same, no change there. Okay, now create by association, right? In the create by association, we are we are not passing the LWA target now because I want to pass the contact ID as well. Okay, so what I have done is I have just used this for with let in and actually pass the values whatever is coming in my entity CBA, that I am just passing and then creating my address as well. Okay, if the address is created, then pass the value back. Okay, that's it. Okay, this is what we have seen in our contact behavior pool. Similarly, for our address behavior pool, what changes we have to do? Now let us see what is the changes that we have to do there. Now there is no change in our update, guys, as it is. Everything will be same. Okay. Probably we might actually use UCID reference as well as is draft here. Okay. Is draft can also be used here to just mention whenever there is a draft capability given, then is always better that it will give them the probability to actually go and create these draft. Even if you don't give also, that's fine. It will work. Okay. Now delete, there is no change. Okay. Now get instance feature, because I have actually gone and added here the feature as instance for my update and delete. A get instance feature will be now added. What I am doing, I am just going and reading, and with my LWA keys, now I am also reading the contact value, and then this time I am just checking whether the contact value is active, is the contact is active, yes or no, and accordingly I am adding the features to my associated entities as well, guys. Okay, feature for update and delete for my associated entities as well now depends on the contact status, whether it is active or inactive. Okay, now let me show you what will happen if we don't implement the uh, this this association. Okay, I am not implementing it anything. Let me just for now comment this out, even though I am passing it, but I am not setting this up. Okay, so now let us see what happens if we don't set the associated entity with the feature control. What will happen? I will show you. So let me now go to my uh, application. Okay, and this time in my application, I am saying that okay, this one is a no. You see, this one is a no. So definitely this edit should not be allowed for me. Okay, but for some reason it is actually allowing me to have an edit. Okay, but what happens is when you do the edit, right, this create functionality is actually shown there, even though my delete will not work. Okay, it is not going to work for me because of the associated feature control, right? But create will come. Now create is actually dependent on my parent, and that is the reason you see this allows us to go and create an additional address. Okay, I am saying test address, apply, and save also. Okay, anyway it is not going to um, do anything. You see now what is happening, it is actually going and adding a test address 3. Okay, for my even though my active address is uh, the contact is inactive, still it is going and allowing me to go and add the address here, right, which is not the right way. And that is the reason you will have to actually go and show them, right, this address 3 that is coming up here should not be allowed. That is the reason we have to go and add a feature instance to the create association as well, right? So let me now go to my Eclipse, and now this time let me just remove this, and now that create button will not be enabled. Okay, that is how it works. So if you have to actually limit your create of the associated entity, you cannot do it in your associated entity feature instance or the feature control get feature instance method, but you will have to go and do it in your get feature instance of your parent entity, guys. Okay, remember that point, that create by association is controlled by the feature instance of the parent entity, not the associated entity. Okay, now once that is done, let us now go and understand what will be happening for our saver class. Okay, now in our saver class, the everything is going to remain same, no change in there. Okay, all the things will be same. The only thing is, now since we are going and creating the uh, contact as well as address, right, parent and child at the same time, be it multiple childs, right? Going ahead, if you want to go and add an attachment to this, then you will have two child entries. Everything you can go and RAP 4.0 will allow you to actually create everything at the same go. In that case, your adjust numbering should be managed properly, because here we have actually gone and utilized the late numbering, and adjust number plays a very important role. If you don't adjust the numbering properly, then all the data that you are actually going and pushing in is not will not match the uh, key values, and it will not give you the data back properly. Okay, so now this is all fine. No other no changes here, but in our auxiliary class that we will be going and looking into, there would be changes now that will come up. Okay, now first thing is in our adjust numbering, right? In our adjust numbering, for my not for my address but for my contact, where is my contact? Let me go here, adjust number for my contact. Okay, what is the thing that we are going and doing here? As you might have seen already, that for the late numbering we are generating a contact ID here. Okay, previously we were generating the contact ID. Now this whole thing should be added to your um, adjust numbering for your contact, because at the same time if there is any empty uh, your addresses at the same time, if they have created, right, in that case it will be very difficult to match it, right? Because we are generating the contact ID here, and by this time already there are four addresses that we have created, for which there is no contact ID, no serial address ID, no address serial number. right? So first we go and adjust our numbering for our contact. In that contact adjust numbering, we generate the contact ID and pass it back to the contact mapping, which will then be used in the main class, in our saver class, to adjust the numbering here by mapping it to the front end. Similarly, after that, we are going and doing the same thing for adjust numbering for our child entities, and that also we are mapping back to the front end, right? So in this case, once the contact ID is generated in our empty actual for create of address, we should go and replace those. Okay, otherwise the proper contact mapping will not happen, right? We are generating the contact ID here, and the same should be going and it should get updated in all the child entities, in all the channel. Currently we have only address, but if you have multiple child entities, each and every uh, child entity, the parent entity should be refreshed, because this is the place where we are actually generating it, right? That if you don't do this, nothing is going to work out. The proper mapping will not happen, right? Similarly, once that is done, it will go and also do the same thing for our adjust numbering for our address. Now in the adjust numbering for address, we are already taking what is the contact ID and reading the GMA case contact address, where the contact ID is the current contact ID, and then that will give me the latest serial number. I could have actually used max here. Instead of contact ID, I could have actually used maxed of address serial number. That could have also worked here. But since that time we were just doing wherever there is a probability of you going and actually making the code better, it's always good. This is not a right way of getting everything and then sorting and deleting and getting. It's not a good way. Rather, you can go and get the maximum last use number, and then you can use it here as well. Now, in case of address for late numbering, since we are now generating the address ID here, we are actually passing that address ID to our MT4 address as well by replacing it here. And contact ID is already been actually taken from the contact mapping, right? Once that is done, this unmanaged will be done, and then the save sequence will be called in order for us to go and implement that save sequence, right? So that is how this whole changes has to be taken care, especially when you are actually doing your own code with the transactional buffer that you are filling in. Everything has to be taken care by you. Again, not a complex thing, guys. If you know the concept well, it is pretty easy. We need to actually go and map the proper key fields when we are actually generating it, right? So parent child in draft, parent and child, all the childs can be created at the same time, and that is the reason we have to go and do those adjustments. Okay, with that, I hope you are able to understand this whole concept, okay, of going and generating your draft capability in it. And with this draft capability, now it will open more um windows for us to actually go and use your determination. You can go and use your um, side effects and all those, all those concepts you can now go and do. So hope this was understandable. If you still have any questions, please comment. I will try to answer as much as possible. I will also try to uh, post the code for this so that you can actually try it for yourself and make usage and learn something more. With that, requesting you to please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. hit the bell icon so that the next video you will be notified. Share it to your colleagues who are actually coming in RAP world, so that they also get benefited. So thank you and happy learning.